Let's start right at the top. Anderson Silva, 3-1 favorite against Vitor Belfort. We know Dana White loves the matchup. Should Silva be this big from a betting standpoint, Kevin?
You know, it's an interesting match, and it's a tough number because, 3-1 against a guy like Vitor that can punch as hard as he can is a big number. So you say, well, maybe I go and take the plus money on Vitor Belfort, a former champion in a heavier division, and he's a big puncher. That would lead you to think. But Anderson Silva, you think, is going to have a big mental edge in this fight. And Anderson Silva's also been active. He's been fighting a lot. It's been, 18, 19 months since we've seen Vitor in the ring. I think that's going to have to hurt him a little bit. You've got to think that he hasn't been in there a lot, and he's getting to be an older fighter. That's probably not real good for him. So that's a tough one to me. On it from I like Silva to win the fight, although I very close. I think it's a fight that could go either way because of their power. But I think Silva's the better overall fighter. But on this one, if I was betting this fight, I would say pass. Because I just don't like the number. Laying 3-1 with Anderson Silva and Vitor on the buyback. You can take the money there. But I do think Silva's going to win the fight, so I'd probably just lay off that one.
When I made picks early in the week at -280, -300, I didn't really know the camp and who's going to be cornering him and game planning for Belfort. I like his odds a little bit now. The fact that Randy Couture's working with him, that Mellinson is working with him. Those guys have more of a close the distance, close the space, maybe get it to the ground. I would like to see, and I'd like Belfort's chances if he mixed it up and grappled a little bit. Obviously, we know Silva can be taken down.
Well, and the interesting thing, there's so many angles to that. We found out that Anderson Silva had a bad cartilage. He popped a cartilage in his rib the week before the fight against Chael Sonnen. His doctor advised him to pull out of the fight. Not only did he not pull out, he didn't say a word. So does that partially explain his poor performance? Maybe. And so, if people are sleeping on Anderson because they think, well, he's come to the end of the line. So there's so many, you can make an argument on that fight both ways very persuasively, and to me that's just a big price to lay, and I don't have enough faith in Vitor. That's really what it comes down to.
I find the odds on Franklin and Forrest Griffin completely intriguing. Rich Franklin is -160. Griffin is the much bigger fighter, the natural 205, the guy who held the title at one point, and he's an underdog.
Yeah, I talked to Rich Franklin just at the workout today as he was wrapping his hands, and we talked for about 15 minutes, and he made the point. He said Forrest is liable to be 25-30 pounds bigger than he is when the fight actually starts. Rich said he would be shocked if he personally weighed as much as 215 after he rehydrates and everything, so less than 10 pounds he'll probably go up. And Forrest, could get up to 235, maybe quite up to 240. That's going to be a big, edge physically. But I'll tell you, I think that, Forrest would be making a mistake to get too big, because I think, he's going to want to have some quickness. Rich is a really good, he's got some good movement, good quick movements, good hands. And I think Forrest is going to want to be as quick as he can here. So I think that's one of those fights, Steve, where I think it's a really good number on that particular fight. I would actually lay the 160 and take Rich Franklin in that one.
I agree. I like Rich in the fight because of when you handicap, you got to look at this, the ability to finish the fight. I think Forrest is a distance fighter. I think Rich, even as the smaller guy, has the knockout power, and we add in that, Forrest hasn't been finished before. He has snapped, and sometimes his chin is a little shaky.
Agreed. And, if Rich, lands a big shot, you got to wonder what Forrest's going to say. What do I need to be doing this for? So with Forrest, he's the very definition of enigmatic. You don't know what's going to go on with him. And at that price, that's not a big price to lay for a former champion who can hit as hard as he can. And
as you know, in boxing, southpaw, sometimes trouble as well.
That's another issue.
Seeing the punches. John Jones, gigantic favorite. The kid has been awesome. Bader's unbeaten. Bader's gone in there and I think surprised a lot of people. His striking's gotten better. His wrestling is strong. -400 for John Jones. What's your gut feeling when these guys lock horns? Because we've seen it with John Jones. Everyone he touches, he just throws. Can he do that against Bader? Is he going to be that dominant to go -400?
I think Jones has the edge in the fight in terms of when you look at everything all together as a whole. But I think, Ryan Bader is, 12-0 in some of the exhibition fights that he, the Ultimate Fighter fights and some of the other fights. He's probably won, 18 fights in a row in his career without a loss. That's saying something. And he beat veterans like Jardine and Nogueira's last couple times out. At 3-1, that's a pretty good, number to, take a chance on, because, I would be willing to bet just single punch power that Ryan Bader is a harder puncher than John Jones. Jones's elbows are just, forget about it. I mean, there's nobody, that has better elbows than John Jones. John does some, crazy things. I think if you're ever going to take the WWE character Stan the Lariat Hansen and bring him to MMA, it would be John Jones. Come up with that, that elbow, and that ends the fight. I mean, what he did to Brandon Vera was sick. And then, just right on top of Matt Yushchenko in his last fight, Steve, drilling him with how many elbows did he throw in about a 30-second span? I mean, it was incredible. It does a lot of damage with it. But, when they're at distance and they're throwing punches, I think Ryan Bader might have, more power. And, what happens if Ryan Bader lands on the button? I think that's a really attractive price. I would, just on the money line, or, straight pick, I would take John Jones to win the fight. But, when you're telling me I'm going to get plus 300, I'll go Ryan Bader.
Okay. Let's look at some of the undercard fights. And again, when we do this, folks, we like to break it down from the Vegas angle. And, there's a lot more betting on this, believe me, outside of Vegas than there is in Vegas. And, this is kind of what goes on with boxing as well. You can pick the fights, but it makes it more interesting when you move in the odds and you take in the public perception.
And why do you think the NFL is so popular? I think it's because of betting.
It's the purity of the game. Some of the underdogs that you like on this card. Chad Mendes is a big favorite against Omagawa. Omagawa was in the U.S., struggled a little bit at 155. He drops to 45. He's been great so far. Omagawa's plus 190 against Mendes, who's minus 240.
I'll tell you, Steve, I like Omagawa to win the fight outright. So, you're giving me plus 190. Thank you very much. I'll take that all day.
Okay. Another one making his debut. I mean, I'm glad to see him over here. I think Miguel Torres is tremendous, although I think there is still a rebuilding process to Miguel to kind of being a controlled fighter but still being aggressive and dangerous. Banuelos is tough. I mean, he is action constantly. He's a lot smaller, but he presents some matchup problems, and Torres is a gigantic favorite. He's minus 450, and Banuelos coming back at plus 325.
Anybody who's followed my column, Steve, at Yahoo Sports knows how much I think of Miguel Torres, how much talent I think he has. I think he's a terrific fighter. He hit a little bump in the road. I think, he got distracted by a lot of the stuff going on, and I think he believed a lot of the stuff that people were saying about him. And, I don't think he was as committed for a little while there as he had been previously in his career. I think he's a phenomenally talented guy. That said, I mean, that is a big number to lay, and there's a lot of factors to think. He's going to mix it up with Banuelos, and Banuelos is a good brawler, and Miguel Torres has that big, giant cut, down the top of his head. Banuelos cracks him there. You got to think that's going to open up, and when that blood starts pouring in his eyes, that that's going to favor the guy attacking Antonio Banuelos. I mean, I think there's a number of things in this fight. Again, this is a fight that just even money, I think Miguel Torres probably wins it more often than not. But, when you're getting, plus 325, is that what it is right now, plus 325?
Yep.
I don't see how I think that's one of those picks that you take.
One more favorite I'm nervous about, and he's the favorite because he has a big name moving over from WEC. What do you think of Donald Cerrone? What kind of fighter is he going to be in UFC? Is he an ordinary 155er? He's minus 240 against Paul Kelly. Kelly's very much a one-trick pony. Does Cerrone take him less than seriously? Is he at risk here?
The one question about that everybody had about the WEC was the lightweights. Back when they had the welterweights and all the other divisions, it was pretty clear that they weren't nearly as deep at 170, 185, and 205, as the UFC was. And so there was no question that the best fighters were in the UFC in those weight classes, and ultimately they got folded in. And then when the WEC ended, I think that perception persisted about their lightweights. And I think Donald Cerrone is going to have to prove a point. He was kind of a big wig, but was he a big fish in a small pond in the WEC? He's not fighting by far the best UFC lightweight. I mean, he's, Paul Kelly's pretty far down the list, so they're not putting him in extremely tough in the fight. But, I think somehow I like Paul Kelly in the fight. I think Donald, Donald is a good fighter, and I think that Donald Cerrone and Paul Kelly should be an interesting fight. It should be a fun fight. I'm going for the upset here, and I'm going to take Paul Kelly.
Oh, so there you go. There's some good value on this UFC 126 card. Nice job, Kev.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate it. I noticed the shirt. Yeah.
What does it say there? Super Bowl champions. That's what that is.
Little jinx. Okay. Hey, you beat my Jets last week. So we do have to make a Super Bowl pick. But not really on the game and the point spread. Believe it or not, in Vegas, there are actually prop bets. I mean, there's hundreds of prop bets. But
they've come up with some great stuff.
Oh, they're awesome. I mean, there's like soccer against the Super Bowl. There's hockey against the Super Bowl. Ohio State. Jared Sullinger points or against something. There actually is a prop in town at the Venetian. This one's a little confusing. It's based on the length of the fight in the main event. So it's Belfort, Silva, rounds completed versus field goals made in the Super Bowl by both teams combined, and the field goals made in the Super Bowl are -half to break the tie. So I guess a lot of it is based on the pace of the game and the length of the fight. So what do you think?
Well, I think it's going to be a high-scoring Super Bowl. Even though both teams have great defenses, I think it's going to be a high-scoring Super Bowl. The Steelers have always had trouble with quarterbacks who have quick releases like Aaron Rodgers does, and teams that spread them out. And so, this is one of their worst matchups, facing an offense that they have. Tom Brady carved them up earlier this year. This is a bad matchup for the Steelers. I think the Packers can score some points, but I also think the Steelers can score some points, and I think both teams are going to be moving the ball around. But because they are good defenses, I think some of those drives will stall, and we'll see kicking field goals. Now, I'm never crazy about taking a bet where I'm betting on Sean Sweezum. So I want to start by saying that. But I'm going to go with the field goals. I think the Belfort Silva fight is a 1 or 2 round fight. I think that there's a lot of power in that fight. There's going to be a knockout one way or the other. So I think there's going to be more than 2 field goals in the game. So as a result, I'll go with football and say there's going to be more field goals made in the game than there are completed rounds in Belfort Silva.
There you go. The football knowledge as well. Thank you, Kevin.
Go Steelers.
Uh-oh. He got the towel backwards. Upside down.